This morning, we're going to be talking about the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. With us here from the Tulsa Health Department, and we're going to talk about just Tulsa County for now. This is going to be shared on social media everywhere, but all the information will just stick with Tulsa County. So we're going to talk about two different things with two different folks. First, Ellen Nematello with the Tulsa Health Department will be talking about the vaccine, how to get it, and who can get it. And then Ms. Sons will talk about volunteering, and I'm happy to volunteer myself. So first of all, Ellen, let's go with the vaccine information. In Tulsa County, the latest I've seen, the cases are 72,684. So we'll get folks up to speed on the numbers, and the deaths, sadly, are 794. So let's talk about avoiding that and the vaccine. Where are we? I guess we're in phase 4 now, correct?
Right. We are in phase 4 all across the state of Oklahoma, which means anyone age 16 and older is eligible to receive a vaccine. So we really are pretty excited that more and more people have access to the vaccine, have the availability. The vaccine supplies have increased. So again, we're pretty excited about being able to offer that vaccine to anyone age 16 and older.
Okay, so folks can sign up, but where do they do that? How do they do that? What do they need to sign up, to register?
Okay, if people are wanting to get their vaccine through the health department, we do have appointments available on the OSDH portal, and individuals sign up through the portal and then register when those appointments are opened up. Typically, we add the appointments in weekly, sometime on Wednesday evening. So sometime around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, those appointments do become available for the following week. We do have to look at what the vaccine availability is and what our allocations are, so we can ensure that we have the proper number of vaccines available. So for the Tulsa Health Department locations going through the portal, the vaccine actually is available through several other providers, whether it be pharmacies or primary care providers or healthcare systems, and they may each have their own sign up to schedule for those appointments. So there is a vaccine locator app that people can see if people have registered for the pharmacies where they have some availability. Or you can call your local pharmacy or your local provider and just ask, do they have the vaccine? Are they administering it? And how do we sign up for appointments? So again, there's a lot of places now where people can be getting the vaccine, and several different ways for people to sign up to get appointments.
Yeah, that's great. I signed up through the portal as well. And then I saw on Facebook, a friend of mine had shared that the Indian Health Services were giving out vaccines to anyone. You didn't have to be a member of the tribe, which I'm not a member of the tribe. So I thought I would call the number on the flyer. And sure enough, she said, well, you're lucky. You've got the very last opening. So I went ahead. I've heard a lot of medical professionals say, okay, you can sign up here, there, wherever, but if you have the ability to get the vaccine, go ahead and just get it as soon as you can. And I got the Moderna vaccine. My second dose will be on the 13th. Talk about the dosages and which vaccines does the Tulsa Health Department have? Do you have all of them, or are you focusing on one?
Really, the Tulsa Health Department, we do have all 3 of the vaccines, the Pfizer and the Moderna, which are both 2-dose vaccine, and the Johnson & Johnson, which is the 1-dose vaccine. We do like to say that the best vaccine is the one you can get. So that being said,
yeah.
Again, like you said, whatever the availability is and wherever you can get the appointments and get the vaccines is a great thing. But at the health department locations now, in the clinic sites, which is the James Goodwin Clinic site at 51st and 129, the Central Regional Healthcare System, which is at 3rd and Utica, and then the North Regional Health and Wellness Center, which is 56th Street North and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, All three of those locations are offering all three vaccines. So individuals can have their choice of which vaccine are they going to prefer, whether it be the 1 dose or the 2 dose. The Pfizer and the Moderna are both the messenger RNA vaccines, and Pfizer is a 2 dose series 3 weeks apart. The Moderna is a 2 dose series 4 weeks apart. So sometimes people, just based on their scheduling, will know when their availability is going to be best, whether it be the 3 weeks or the 4 weeks. And then the Johnson and Johnson vaccine uses a little bit of a different science behind it, using some of the spike proteins. But it is 1 dose provides protection. So really, those are some of the choices that individuals can make. The only individuals who really don't have a choice right now are the 16 and 17-year-olds. Pfizer is the only vaccine that we can give to the 16 and 17-year-olds. But 18 and above, they can have their choice of any of those three vaccines at the Tulsa Health Department clinic sites. We are still at Expo, which is where we had our large pods that were 1,800 to 2,000 every day. We're finishing up second doses there. So for people who got their first dose through the health department at Expo, they already have their appointment scheduled for their second dose. And those primarily are Pfizer only. So that's just the availability. But in the clinic sites, we're trying to offer an option. And like I said, as the vaccine supplies have increased, we are able to do that so that individuals can choose.
Okay, and let's clear up something that I sort of had a question about with myself. I already got my vaccine, the Moderna, 2.5 weeks ago, and then I had an opportunity to get a Johnson and Johnson shot, but I didn't because I've already got my second dose scheduled. I assume there's a reason why it's exactly 3 weeks separated between the first and second shot. And also, it's not like I wanted to start mixing vaccines. I mean, that's not something we should be doing, right?
Right. Yeah. There really is no science behind mixing the vaccines, whether the efficacy will really be the same. And again, the Moderna and the Johnson and Johnson use a little bit of a different science behind the vaccine. They're both safe. They're both effective. They're both well tested, but they are different vaccines. So at this point in time, yes, you do want to finish a 2 dose series, if at all possible, with the same dose that you started. The timing is because that was when they first were doing the clinical trials. They tested it at 3 weeks, and then they tested the Moderna at 4 weeks, 3 weeks for Pfizer, 4 weeks for the Moderna. And so we are authorized to use it in the same conditions as the clinical trials. So at this point in time, the clinical trials for Pfizer went down to age 16. They have completed some clinical trials that go down to age 12. That has not been authorized for use yet, but these trials are ongoing. So we have to stay within the same parameters of what those clinical trials were.
Well, it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to start changing the game after it's already started. So, and also one other quick thing about that, Ellen, people shouldn't be getting a whole bunch of doses just to try to make themselves even more and more protected against the coronavirus, right? You get one shot, or whether it's the 2 dose Moderna and whatever, and then that's it. Leave the rest for others that are not vaccinated yet, right?
Yeah, and there's really two thoughts on that one. As far as the 2 dose Pfizer and the 2 dose Moderna, the efficacy on that is really about 94, 95%. So that's really quite high. The efficacy on the 1 dose Johnson and Johnson is about 80% effective in preventing serious illness and death. So they're both very effective when you take them the way that they are intended. Another thing to kind of think about is some of the side effects of the vaccine, which counterintuitively, the side effects actually are showing that your body is building immunity. So although they're uncomfortable, they really are showing that the vaccine is working. So with both the Moderna and the Pfizer, there tends to be a few more side effects associated with the second dose as opposed to the first dose. So if people are thinking that, well, if 2 is good, 3 is better, One that's completely off label and not at all recommended. And again, we do know that the incidence and severity of those side effects increase a bit with the second dose.
Okay. So after someone gets the first dose, I'll just use my Moderna example. Dose number one, about what percentage protected is a person?
Some studies were saying initially about 50% protected. Some of the later studies are saying maybe it's 70% protected. So there is some degree of protection. But as far as considering yourself fully vaccinated and protected, you really have to have that second dose and then wait for 1 to 2 weeks for your body to continue to build the immunity. And at that point, you really are considered protected. That's when the studies were done showing the 94, 95% efficacy was when that was measured 7 days after the second dose.
Okay, that's one of my other questions is after we get that second one, there is that lag time. It's not the right medical terminology, but there's that time for it to get fully, 90% protected. So that's
Right.
good to know. Okay, and anything else we need to know about the vaccine?
Really, like I said, there are some side effects that really are fairly typical with this vaccine. Some of them are local side effects where people will have a sore muscle or a very sore arm, and that may linger for a bit. And then the systemic side effects that people may experience usually just last 24 to 48 hours, but they also can include fatigue and body aches, headache, fever. So I usually tell people there's a chance you might feel a little bit crummy for the next day or so. So talk to your pharmacist, take some over-the-counter medicine, and maybe take a nap. So just expecting that, but there may be a period of time where those systemic side effects. The other thing that's really kind of interesting with those side effects is younger individuals tend to have more side effects than individuals that are older. So it's a little bit flipped from what the disease incidence is, because COVID disease definitely hits the older people more severely than the younger people. But the side effects from the vaccine tend to affect the younger people, those that are under 50, more than it affects those that are over 50. So sometimes having a few years is actually a little bit beneficial when someone is receiving these vaccines.
Okay, so for those that have just tuned in, where can they go to sign up to receive a vaccine? This is, again, with the Tulsa Health Department. There are other places that are distributing vaccines, Walmart, Walgreens. There's a handful, which is great. But let's talk about with the Tulsa Health Department.
Yeah, going through the Oklahoma State Department of Health portal is the best place to sign up for vaccines at the Tulsa Health Department. And again, the open appointments are entered once a week based on what vaccine is available and what our capacity is to provide the vaccine in a very safe environment. And then we also schedule in our second doses because we want to ensure that anyone who has received a first dose with the Tulsa Health Department automatically is scheduled for their second dose, because we know that the completed series really is the goal for complete protection. So
Sure.
Tulsa Health Department going through the portal.
And I'll put that link on the post here on social media, but it's tulsa-health.org. Right.
There is a link on the Tulsa Health Department website to schedule a COVID vaccine appointment, and then it will take you through the OSDH portal where you answer some questions and register, and then when open appointments are available, you can schedule your appointment.
Okay. Carrie, I mean, that's the vaccine side of things. So it's that's the medical part of it. Now, the troops on the ground that are getting these shots in arms, that's where you come in, and I'm happy to volunteer, do whatever it is you need me to do to help get folks vaccinated. What should folks do to volunteer?
Well, I'll be happy to put you to work, first of all. And how you do how you do that is you go to our website at www.thd okmrc.org, and that stands for the Oklahoma Medical Reserve Corps. I know the name makes it sound like you have to be medical in order to be a part of our organization, but you do not. It takes at least 4 non-medical folks to support every medical personnel. So think about it like when you go to the hospital, it's not just doctors and nurses running the place. You've got to have everybody there, registration, security, the cafeteria folks, the billing folks. Everybody works together to make that run like a well-oiled machine. And that's kind of how our pods run. We've got all of our folks giving out those vaccines, but it takes a lot more folks around to make sure that that vaccine goes in that arm smoothly. So we have many awesome folks that have been helping us out since the very beginning. So it's not, if pods are not your thing, we've got other places that you can serve, such as our phone banks or places like that, our epidemiology disease case investigation. But most folks like the pods just because it seems to be kind of the fun place to be right now. But you can come there and there's all sorts of positions that you would have. If you are a nurse, you can be trained to give the vaccine. We have medical support, doctors, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, such, helping out with our medical area. We have folks that are monitoring after the vaccine. We have folks that are running and taking messages from one place to the other, registration, exit, mobility assistance, because, we've got a lot of folks that are having to come in that it takes a little bit of effort to get through that line. And so we want to make sure that folks can get through there smoothly and easily. So we want to make sure that it's a smooth transition from the car all the way back to their car. So basically, any place that you can think of that you would have in a doctor's office, there's those types of positions at our pod too. And so basically, you just go to that website and fill out the application and take the orientation. That orientation, and there's a little short quiz afterwards. That's what cues your background check. When that comes back successfully, then you'll be eligible for your super cool blue t-shirt and your badge, and then we'll put you to work. There's a few short trainings that are all online. They can be done at 2 o'clock in the morning in your jammies if you want. And they're pretty easy. They're just to kind of let you know the chain of command. We operate under what we call the ICS structure, the incident command structure. And it's just kind of talking the language of responses. And so we would just want you to have a general familiarity with that. And so that's what those online courses are. Like I said, they're all super easy, all online, and we can get you taken care of in just a matter of a few hours.
Okay, who can volunteer? Is there an age limit?
Yeah, you do have to be at least 18 here in Oklahoma to join. So, I like to say my youngest volunteer is 18 right now. Currently, my oldest is 94. So if there's any 95-year-olds out there, you could take the cake. So come on down. Okay,
and when do you need volunteers? I assume now, just as soon as people can fill out that registration.
Absolutely. We have shifts available every day that you can work. And it does, like I said, take a few days for that background check to clear. It just depends on how involved the background check is, depending on whether you have a medical license or not that we also have to verify. But that takes anywhere, they've been coming back pretty fast. I hate to give an actual time frame, but from a few days to a couple of weeks is how long that usually takes to clear. But yeah, I'm having people work as we speak. They're at the pod working, they're down in the phone bank working, they're up in epidemiology working. So yeah, just whenever you have time, I can find you a job and put you to work happily.
And I assume whoever does volunteer has to show that they've had their vaccine, right?
No, actually, no. We've got
some
folks. Yeah, we've got some folks that have not been able to get vaccines because they are in group 4, but they are welcome to go ahead and get that vaccine as they are eligible for it. And so since we're in group 4, everyone that is 18 or up is eligible now. kind of a good thing earlier was at the end of the day, if there was some vaccine left over, because we do not waste vaccine here at the Tulsa Health Department, not even a dose. We were making it eligible to those volunteers and staff that were still working at the end of the shift, so that we wouldn't waste any. But now, you know, everybody's eligible. And so if somebody wants a vaccine, they can get a vaccine by now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for all your information. And I'm excited about volunteering. When I do volunteer, I'll be taking a couple pictures. Is that okay for my social media posts?
Well, you'll need to talk with your unit supervisor, because it is like in a doctor's office. We do not want to violate any HIPAA.
Oh, right.
So you can't take pictures of clients and other people. You can take selfies if you want, but you do need to talk to your unit coordinator or your unit leader rather, and find out, because it depends on where you're stationed, because we don't want any health and medical records visible, because that's privacy. You know.
Got it. It makes a lot of sense, Carrie. So thank you very much for everything. Ellen, thank you very much. We talk about heroes on the ground, and that's you guys. So thank you for all that you are doing to help us get through this pandemic.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
remember,
and for volunteering. Thank you. Go ahead, Carrie.
Yes,
well, I was just going to say, remember, this is Oklahoma. So even after this pandemic is over and we're all vaccinated, I still want you to stay with us, because it's Oklahoma. It's not a matter of if a disaster is going to happen. It's when, and we can definitely put you to work. And we've got all sorts of cool trainings and activities going on year round. So it's not just for COVID. It's
okay.
Year round, and we're there to help whenever needed.
I'll do it.
Awesome.
okmrc.org.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Lynn.